In one of the most dramatic turns of global diplomacy this year, U.S. President Donald Trump has done what few believed possible. He's brought Israel and Hamas to sign a ceasefire and hostage release deal in Egypt. Cameras flashed, world leaders applauded, and Trump, always the showman, smiled like a man who had just secured his long-awaited Nobel Peace Prize moment. But behind the grand ceremony lies a fragile truth. The deal, though historic, is hanging by a thread. Because the man Trump had to convince, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, is famous for one thing above all: doing whatever it takes to stay in power. Now, the question haunting Washington and Jerusalem is simple. Can Trump keep Netanyahu on board, or will politics and pressure tear the deal apart before it even begins? Chapter 1. The deal that shocked the world. It all began when Trump's team quietly negotiated what's being called the 20-point peace plan, a document aimed at ending Israel's long and brutal conflict with Hamas. The deal called for a ceasefire, the release of all remaining Israeli hostages, and a gradual rebuilding of Gaza under international supervision. At first, the plan seemed impossible. Netanyahu's right-wing government wanted a total military victory, while Hamas refused to talk. But after months of pressure, phone calls, and back-channel diplomacy, Trump pulled off what even seasoned diplomats thought was unthinkable. Hamas agreed to Trump's framework, and Netanyahu, against the advice of many in his coalition, signed on. Chapter 2. Trump and Netanyahu, allies or adversaries? Trump and Netanyahu's relationship has always been complicated. They've called each other friends. They've praised one another publicly, and yet, behind the scenes, their alliance has been marked by mistrust and ego. During Trump's first presidency, he gave Israel nearly everything it wanted: recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital, acknowledgement of Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights, and an unwavering defense of Israeli military actions, even when the world condemned them. In return, Netanyahu embraced Trump as Israel's strongest ally. But this deep alignment also gave Trump unusual leverage, because if there's one thing Netanyahu values more than ideology, it's survival. Chapter 3. The pressure play. According to U.S. officials, the road to the ceasefire was paved with Trump's signature mix of charm and intimidation. Netanyahu initially resisted. His ministers warned him that halting military operations would anger right-wing voters and fracture his fragile coalition. But Trump turned up the pressure, both publicly and privately. He forced Netanyahu to apologize to Qatar's leader after an airstrike targeted Hamas negotiators there. He hinted that future U.S. aid to Israel could depend on cooperation. And behind the scenes, he reportedly told aides, "Bibi will come around. He always does when he realizes I hold the cards." It worked. Chapter 4. What's really in Trump's peace plan? Trump's 20-point peace plan remains only partially public, but key elements have been revealed. A full ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, immediate release of all Israeli hostages, international oversight of Gaza's reconstruction, and, most controversially, Hamas's complete disarmament and exclusion from future governance in Gaza. Hamas has accepted the framework in principle, but not the fine print. Its leaders have signaled they still expect a role in Gaza's administration after the war. That's a ticking time bomb, because for Netanyahu and his supporters, allowing Hamas to remain in power, even partially, is unthinkable. It's exactly this ambiguity, this strategic vagueness, that made the deal possible. Chapter 5. Netanyahu's political tightrope. Israel's political landscape is volatile, and Netanyahu is caught in the middle of it. The country faces another general election next year. His right-wing coalition is already restless. Hardliners like Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich have made it clear they won't tolerate any deal that lets Hamas survive. Simcha Rothman, another coalition member, said it bluntly: "We are not happy with any deal that is not total surrender of Hamas. We will not accept any partial victory. That kind of rhetoric puts Netanyahu in an impossible position." Chapter 6. Trump's new tone, from cheerleader to enforcer. During his first term, Trump was Israel's loudest cheerleader. But now, a sterner Trump has emerged. One more willing to play the role of enforcer. He's no longer giving Netanyahu a blank check. Instead, he's demanding results. After the Cairo signing, Trump publicly joked with Netanyahu before the Israeli parliament. Well, see, now you can be a little bit nicer, Bibi, because you're not at war anymore. It got laughs, but insiders say it was more than a joke. It was a reminder that Trump expects obedience, not resistance. And Netanyahu knows it. Chapter 7. The hidden risk, the Palestinian State clause. One section of Trump's peace plan is already stirring controversy. A vague line that leaves open the possibility of a future Palestinian state. Trump has framed it as a long-term vision for peace, but many Israelis see it as betrayal, especially after Hamas's October 7th attacks. Former U.S. Ambassador Dan Shapiro warned, if Israeli politicians campaign heavily against a Palestinian state, Arab countries may lose interest in pushing Hamas to keep its promises. That means if Netanyahu's political rivals turn the idea into a weapon, Arab nations could walk away from enforcing the deal, and the peace could crumble overnight. Chapter 8. Trump's real advantage. For all his unpredictability, Trump has one powerful advantage: his personal popularity in Israel. Unlike past U.S. presidents who tried to play neutral, Trump is openly pro-Israel, and that gives him influence no one else has. As Middle East expert John Alterman put it, Trump can either support Netanyahu's political future or sabotage it. That's leverage, pure and simple. Chapter 9. Can peace survive politics? For Trump, the Cairo signing was more than diplomacy. It was legacy building. He sees himself as the deal maker who can end wars, reshape alliances, and prove his critics wrong. For Netanyahu, the deal is survival. If it holds, he'll be remembered as the man who brought Israel out of war. If it fails, he risks losing everything. But between those two ambitions lies a storm. Political pressure, ideological divides, and centuries of mistrust. As history has shown, Middle East peace deals don't collapse because of one bad day. They die slowly from politics, pride, and promises no one can keep. Donald Trump may have convinced Netanyahu to take the deal, but keeping him on board, that's where the real challenge begins. Every day without violence will test Trump's influence. Every political scandal in Israel will test Netanyahu's resolve. And every disagreement over Gaza's future will test the limits of this fragile peace. Trump calls himself a peacemaker, but peace, as history proves, isn't made in front of cameras. It's maintained in the quiet moments after the cameras are gone, when promises collide with politics. If you found this analysis compelling, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video, because in the end, one question remains. Can Trump truly keep Netanyahu on board and make peace last? Or is this deal just another illusion of diplomacy in a region that's never truly at peace?